Hello everybody, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Rosalia, and today I'm going to talk about the Bird Crazy, these stamps. They've been around for a while, but I got them recently, about 2 weeks ago, and I started playing with them, and I noticed that all of the birds pretty much face one way when you stamp. So I'm here to show you how you can have these birds face each other, like this one single one, you can make it facing itself. And the way I discovered that was that I took my tissue paper and as you can see, let me give you a little sample how this one is facing itself. Alright, this one is also facing, and this one is facing themselves. And the way I did that was that I took my tissue paper, and I had to experiment because some of the tissue paper that we use, like for instance when we're working and we're dabbing away, we create these wonderful pieces. Ooh, that's a lot of glare there. We create these pieces with a lot of ink. So I got this idea from YouTube. There's several people who make this material almost like plastic out of paper. So I Mod Podge my papers, and this is actually a piece of tissue that I used in my work. And all of these are just created using, when you're dabbing away. So I opened them out, and look how beautiful this is. And I Mod Podged them, and this is what came of it. So some of them are opaque, so I wasn't able to use them. Some of them were transparent. Like this, for whatever reason, turned out to be transparent. So what I did was I tried to search for a tissue that would give me really true transparency. And these were actually made from like for instance, this one was made from a piece that I had already. And then some of them, they were clear, and I painted them themselves just to show you that you can still color them in. They're not going to be as bright and brilliant when you're doing on paper, but it is possible to use watercolors and paints and whatever. So my thing is that once you stamp it, and I use archival black ink, darn it, I didn't take it out, archival black ink, and it actually comes through really nice on both sides. And to do that, I selected this cheap tissue. How beautiful, how cute. From Walmart. It was 97 cents for 140. And it's double ply. It comes, where is it? Like this, and I don't like that design, that embossing design. So what I did was I wet it on my mat. I took and I wet it. I took it because it's double ply, so you separate them. And you wet it and you iron it. You have to iron it with parchment paper. Sandwich it with parchment paper. Okay, you sandwich it with parchment paper and you iron it. All right, and then once you have that, you take it out because it's gonna be nice and dry, and it'll turn out like this. It'll turn, well, this one I crinkled up. But it's nice, almost like tissue paper, toilet tissue paper, but it's a little stronger than toilet tissue paper. So then now you have no embossing on it. It's just now they'll separate it. You can keep them together if you want them double. This will give you a nice clear, but it's not going to be nice and untextured. So I just chose to do it, to separate it and do one. So once you have that nice and flat, you put it on your craft mat or something plastic, and you put Mod Podge on it. Let it dry completely. If you let it dry, I mean totally completely, it will be easier to peel off, and then you don't get to lose any of the Mod Podge. You know, it doesn't get stuck in, give you little spots of exposed tissue. So this is what you end up with. Look how clear that is. Okay, so you go ahead and you stamp your image. When you stamp your image, you have, hold on, I have over here, this is what you end up with. This is another one that turned out clear. But when you stamp your image on this is what you get. So if you look at this image here and you turn it around, it's going to be facing the other way. And check out the ink. Check out the ink. I only stamped it one time, but I inked it. You have to ink it really, really good. Okay, ink it really good, and press it down, and you get this. This is about the clears that I could get it. So now you have these images that can face each other when you cut them. Okay, and I took the liberty of coloring some of them. This was with metallic. You only need very little because it really spreads. And this I did it with, because I know some of you like that brilliant darker colors on it. You're not going to be able to get it because it's like a plastic. But I did permanent ink on the darker edges. Permanent ink on the dark edges, and then I did the recollection or the distress markers on the inside, and did that lighter shading. And I also did some glitter on the beaks. You can do glitter markers too, like this one here. It's the glitter marker. It just says glitter marker. Any nice glitter marker, you can use it on this also. So there you have it. So now, just look at this. I stamped this one this side, and then I took and turned it around and stamped it on the other side. So that's how they got to face each other. So I stamped here, turned it around, stamped it here, and that's how they face each other. But basically, you can take this, and if you just have one image, you can stamp it, and then you can always turn it around whichever way you want it on your work. So it's not like you have to stamp it twice like I did there. You can stamp it one time, color it in and everything, and depending on how you want it to look, you can turn it around. How you like that? All right. So I thought I'd share that with you. And you may want to ask, that why not try tracing paper? Well, tracing paper, this I did with nothing. I just colored it in. I don't really like doing that kind of work, but when you turn it around, it really doesn't give you that nice, crisp image on the other side like this would do. Okay, so it just gives you like a foggy kind of look. So I tried a little bit of Mod Podge on that. It gave me a nice print, but still kind of like foggy on the other side, and I didn't want that, so that didn't work out. There is some other paper called onion skin paper out there that's very, very transparent. I was going to try it, but you know what? I like the texture of the tissue in the Mod Podge, number one. Number two, this is way cheaper than the onion skin paper that's going to cost, what did I look it up, over $25 for, I think, a ream of 500. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to use that many. I'm okay with this. I like the texture. I did this because I was looking out for people who don't want all of that texture like this has. This is really kind of rough. I don't mind it. This is also kind of rough. And I will stamp my image on that, get really crazy stuff like that. Okay, so that's how I like it. But you know, I was looking out for those who just wanna do something less rough, because when you stamp it, you'll get a lot of little bubbling, like the ink doesn't go in all the way. The ink doesn't go in. Like this one is a good example of how the ink won't really penetrate on those little bubbles. Okay, so this is a lot smoother. Doing it like this is a lot smoother, but you still get that nice texture, and it feels really good. And the way I've used it, I put it in. Oh, and don't get rid of the pieces of scraps, because all of this I used it all in my journal book. All these pieces of scrap from these when I cut things, and I was able to use it on this book. Now I have this writing. Now these are just backgrounds that I'm not even finished with this, but I wouldn't have been able to put this bird. Oh, let me see if I can get you a good. I wouldn't have been able to put this bird there facing these letters if I wouldn't have came up with the transparency and turning them around. I mean, it's just fascinating. So you can have them look like they're having a conversation, or just turning them around. And I used it this way also. Actually, I had stamped them like this, but then I kind of liked the dimensional that I get and the texture that I get, so I put it over what I stamped. And I fuzzy cut them. That's how I like to fuzzy cut it. There's a die cut out there. I'm not going to get the die cut. It's too many pieces. I'm not going to bother with that. I like fuzzy cutting it that way. I just I just like it. And you can always cut the feet and stamp it, cut the and you'll have that image. There's YouTubes out there that, yeah, so you don't have to fuzzy cut the legs. So you just and the hair. So when you stamp it and you put the body in, you still have that. Okay, so there's YouTubes out there. But all the bits and pieces that are left over, this is how I used it. So don't throw away your little strap. Well, that's it for now. And I thank you for tuning in. Have a good day. Bye-bye.